those time markers to jump around to any story that you want. If you find my work valuable, of course, I ask you to hit the like button and share this episode with anyone you know who can benefit from this information. Lastly, if you've not already, please also consider subscribing to my channel.
Oh, drat these computers. They're so naughty and so complex. I could pinch them.
We start off today with phishing. Elon Musk recently announced plans to revamp Twitter's verification process. As a part of this review, Twitter initially proposed to start charging verified users a $20 monthly fee. Later, Musk stated that the fee could probably be dropped down to $8. As Twitter announces plans to charge users $8 a month for Twitter Blue and account verification under Elon Musk's management, multiple phishing emails are now targeting verified users. It was revealed that these emails were originating from servers of hacked websites and blogs that may be, for example, hosting dated WordPress versions or running unpatched vulnerable plugins. Clicking on the link takes the user to the phishing webpage where threat actors misuse the $8 monthly fee. The phishing workflow collects users' Twitter username, password, and proceeds to sending them to a two-factor authentication code via SMS. Threat actors have also repeatedly targeted verified users via phishing and sometimes hacked blue badge accounts to push crypto scams. In other scams, threat actors have hacked verified accounts to impersonate another person, to mislead the public, or to send Twitter users fake account suspension DMs. Musk has dissed the existing verification process as Twitter's current lords and peasants system. However, other than being a perceived status symbol perception by some, the blue badge is primarily intended to separate real, authentic accounts of notable people from copycat and parody accounts created by third parties, at least in theory. The verification is therefore intended to limit misinformation in the sense that users can see a tweet originating from a verified account is authentic and didn't originate from someone impersonating a public figure. In practice, however, results can vary as a hacked verified account may continue to retain the blue badge even if the hacker changes the name, the bio, the profile picture on it, thereby making the presence of the badge futile to begin with. If the blue badge becomes commoditized and available to just about anyone willing to shed out $8 a month, Twitter will need to rethink its process to add authenticity to notable accounts. One of the ways to achieve this could be, for example, to continue the use special labels on Twitter accounts of politicians and state-affiliated entities, which then creates some distinction between authentic accounts of public figures and those with a paid blue badge. Without a streamlined verification process that clearly separates authentic, notable accounts from imposters, the problems of Twitter's existing verification sphere won't disappear anytime soon. We now move on to patches. Cisco addressed multiple vulnerabilities impacting some of its products, including high-severity flaws in identity, email, and web security products. The most severe vulnerability addressed by the IT giant is a cross-site request forgery flaw tracked to CVE 2022-20961 with a CVSS score of 8.8 that impacts the identity services engine. An unauthenticated remote attacker could exploit the vulnerability to perform arbitrary actions on a vulnerable device. The root cause of the issue is the insufficient CSRF protections for the web-based management interface of an affected device. A vulnerability in the web-based management interface of Cisco Identity Services Engine could allow an unauthenticated remote attacker to conduct a cross-site request forgery attack and perform arbitrary actions on an affected device, reads the advisory. This vulnerability is due to insufficient CSRF protections for the web-based management interface of an affected device. An attacker could exploit this vulnerability by persuading a user of the interface to follow a crafted link. A successful exploit could allow the attacker to perform arbitrary actions on the affected device with the privileges of the target user. Cisco also addressed an insufficient access control vulnerability tracked to CVE 2022-20956 with a CVSS score of 7.1 in its ISE product. The flaw is caused by improper access control in the web-based management interface, and an attacker can trigger it by sending specially crafted HTTP requests to affected devices. This vulnerability is due to improper access control in the web-based management interface of an affected device. An attacker could exploit this vulnerability by sending a crafted HTTP request to the affected device, reads the advisory. A successful exploit could allow the attacker to list, download, and delete certain files that they should not have access to. The Cisco PSIRT is aware of the availability of a proof of concept exploit code for the vulnerability. The company also fixed a SQL injection vulnerability tracked to CVE 2022-20867 and a privilege escalation vulnerability tracked to CVE 2022-20868 in the Cisco ESA and Cisco Secure Email and Web Manager Next Generation Management. So Fortinet fixed 16 vulnerabilities. 6 were rated as high severity. One of the high severity issues is a persistent cross-site scripting tracked to CVE 2022-38374 in log pages of FortiADC. The root cause of the issue is an improper neutralization of input during web page generation vulnerability, which is CWE 79 in the FortiADC product. A remote unauthenticated attacker can trigger the flaw to perform a stored cross-site scripting attack via HTTP fields observed in the traffic and event log views. Another issue addressed by the company is a command injection in the CLI command tracked to CVE 2022-33870 of FortiTester. An improper neutralization of special elements used in an OS command vulnerability, CWE 78, in the command line interpreter of FortiTester may allow an authenticated attacker to execute unauthorized commands via specifically crafted arguments to existing commands, reads the advisory. Another issue, tracked to CVE 2022-26119, impacts FortiSIEM or FortiSIEM. The issue is described as glassfish local credentials stored in plain text. I wasn't actually aware that Fortinet used glassfish, but that's pretty good information if you want to dig in and kind of figure out their software. Anyway, a local attacker with command line access can exploit the bug to perform operations on the glassfish server directly via a hard-coded password. In October, Fortinet confirmed that the critical authentication bypass issue tracked to CVE 2022-40684 is being exploited in the wild. The issue impacted FortiGate firewalls and FortiProxy web proxies. An attacker can exploit the vulnerability to log into vulnerable devices. The OpenSSL project has issued security updates to address a couple of high-severity vulnerabilities, tracked to CVE 2022-A3602 and CVE 2022-3786 in its cryptography library. The flaws impact versions 3.0.0 through 3.0.6 of the library. The OpenSSL software library allows secure communications over computer networks against eavesdropping, or secures them against eavesdropping, or the need to identify the party at the other end. OpenSSL contains an open-source implementation of the secure sockets layer and transport layer security protocols. Both flaws are buffer overrun issues that can be triggered in X.509 certificate verification by providing a specially crafted email address. The first, CVE 2022-3786, allows a threat actor to craft a malicious email address in a certificate to overflow an arbitrary number of bytes containing the dot character. The second, CVE 2022-3601, is similar, but in this case, a threat actor could craft a malicious email to overflow 4 attacker-controlled bytes on the stack. These could result in a denial of service or remote code execution, reads a post published by Census. An attacker can craft a malicious email address in a certificate to overflow an arbitrary number of bytes containing the dot character, which is decimal 46, on the stack. This buffer overflow could result in a crash, causing a denial of service. In a TLS client, this can be triggered by connecting to a malicious server, reads the advisory published by the CVE 2022-3786. In a TLS server, this can be triggered if the server requests client authentication and a malicious client connects. The CVE 2022-3602 flaw is initially rated as critical, but further analysis based on some of the mitigating factors led its severity rate to be downgraded to high. Both vulnerabilities have been addressed with the release of OpenSSL 3.0.7 release. As of October 30th, 2022, the number of unique hosts having one or more services broadcasting that they use OpenSSL was 1,793,111. Of those, only 7,062, or 0.4%, of the hosts run a vulnerable version of the library, which is greater than or equal to version 3.0.0. Most of the hosts were located in the US, Germany, Japan, China, Czechia, the UK, France, Russia, Canada, and the Netherlands. Zero Patch released an unofficial patch to address an actively exploited security vulnerability in Microsoft Windows that could allow bypassing Mark of the Web, or MOTW, protections by using files signed with malformed signatures. The issue affects all supported and multiple legacy Windows versions. HP Wolf Security recently spotted a Magniber campaign targeting Windows home users with fake security updates. Patrick works at HP Wolf Security, where they analyzed the Magniber ransomware and wrote a detailed analysis of its working. Will asked Patrick about the zip files used in the malware campaign to see if they were exploiting the same vulnerability or employing some other trick to bypass the marker web, reads the report published by ZeroPatch. Patrick explained that malicious files extracted from the attacker's zip were executed without security warnings, even if they missed the mark of the web. In order to prevent unauthorized actions, files downloaded from the internet in Windows are tagged with a MOTW flag. The experts discovered that corrupt authenticode signatures allow the execution of arbitrary executables without any smart screen warning. According to ZeroPatch, Windows fails to properly parse the signature, and for this reason, trusts them and lets malicious executables execute without a warning. The malformed signature discovered by Patrick and Will caused smartscreen.exe to throw an exception when the signature could not be parsed, resulting in SmartScreen returning an error, which we now know means run, concludes the report. We now move on to attacks, vulnerabilities, and updates. LockBit ransomware gang announced to have hacked the German multinational automotive parts manufacturer company Continental. The group added the name of the company to its Tor leak site and is threatening to publish alleged stolen data if the victim will not pay the ransom. The cybercriminals have fixed the deadline on November 4th, 2022 at 15:45:36 UTC. At this time, the group announced that it will publish all available data, a circumstance that suggests the victim has yet to negotiate with the criminals or it has refused to pay the ransom. In a cyber attack, attackers infiltrated parts of Continental's IT systems. The company detected the attack in early August and then averted it. Continental's business activities have not been affected at any point. The technology company maintains full control over its IT systems. According to current information, the IT systems of third parties have not been affected, reads a statement published by the company in August. Immediately after the attack was discovered, Continental took all necessary defense measures to restore the full integrity of its IT systems. Researchers at Proofpoint observed threat actor TA569 intermittently injecting malicious code on a media company that serves many major news outlets. The media company provides video content and advertising via JavaScript to its partners. The attackers modified the JS to deploy the FakeUpdates malware, aka sock ghoulish through the websites of hundreds of newspapers in the United States. Visitors of compromised websites were infected with malware payloads masqueraded as fake browser updates, i.e. chrome.update.zip, chrome.updater.zip, firefox.update.zip, opera.update.zip, opera.update.zip. The users are tricked into downloading zip archives containing the malware via fake update alerts. We tracked this actor as TA569. TA569 historically removed and reinstated these malicious JS injects on a rotating basis. Therefore, the presence of the payload and malicious content can vary from hour to hour and shouldn't be considered a false positive, reads a tweet published by the company. The security firm revealed that more than 250 U.S. news outlets were impacted by this supply chain attack, including the websites of major news organizations. Impacted media organizations serve major news outlets from New York, Boston, Chicago, Miami, Washington, D.C., and more. In July, Microsoft researchers discovered a malware campaign that uses the fake updates malware was distributed via whatever that sentence says, via Raspberry Robin malware. Let's try that again. In July, Microsoft researchers discovered a malware campaign where the fake updates malware was being distributed via Raspberry Robin malware. There, I fixed some grammar. Recently, Microsoft discovered a malicious activity that links the Raspberry Robin worm to human-operated ransomware attacks. Microsoft experts observed the threat actor Dev0206 using the worm to deploy a downloader on networks that were also compromised by threat actors using Evil Corpse TTPs. Ooh, the plot thickens. In Q3 2022, Kaspersky researchers uncovered a previously undocumented Android spyware dubbed SandStrike, employed in an espionage campaign targeting the Persian-speaking religion minority Baha'i. Not familiar with that. Anyway, the threat actors were distributing a VPN app embedding a highly sophisticated spyware. The attacker set up Facebook and Instagram accounts with more than 1,000 followers and designed attractive religious-themed graphic materials in order to trick victims into downloading the tainted VPN app. The social media accounts were used to spread a link to a Telegram channel created to distribute the seemingly harmless VPN application. The app would have allowed users to access sites banned in certain regions. The threat actors also set up their own VPN infrastructure. The spyware is able to steal sensitive to steal a broad range of sensitive data, including call logs, contact lists, and also spy on victims' activities. Again, another grammar fix. In June, we identified a previously unknown Android spyware app that targets Persian-speaking individuals. SandStrike is distributed as a means to access resources about the Baha'i religion that are banned in Iran. It provides victims with a VPN connection that can be used to browse these resources. The spyware itself collects various data from the victim's devices, such as call logs or lists of contacts. Reads the report published by Kaspersky. During execution, it connects to the command and control server to request commands. These commands allow attackers to perform operations with the device file system. Moreover, Kaspersky has not been able to attribute the campaign to any particular threat group. A now patched vulnerability in the Galaxy Store app for Samsung devices could have been potentially triggering remote command execution on affected phones. The flaw is a cross-site scripting bug that can be triggered when handling certain deep links. The vulnerability impacts Galaxy Store version 4.5.32.4. It was reported by an independent security researcher through the SSD Secure Disclosure Program. In the Galaxy Store application, there are some deep links handled. Deep link can be called from another application or from a browser. When receiving suitable deep links, Galaxy Store will process and display them via WebView. Reads the advisory. Here, by not checking the deep link securely, when a user accesses a link from a website containing the deep link, the attacker can execute JS code in the WebView context of the Galaxy Store application. The expert focuses on deep links configured for Samsung's marketing and content services. The Samsung MCS direct page website was parsing the parameter from the URL and then displaying it on the website, but it did not encode, leading to a cross-site scripting error. We can see the website is processing the ABC def parameters and displaying as above without encoding the URL is passed directly to href, so this is very dangerous and will cause cross-site scripting, continues the advisory. While analyzing the deep link process code, the expert noticed two functions, download app and open app, in the class editorial script interface. Two functions allow getting the app ID and downloading them from the store or opening them. This means that it is possible to use JS code to call these two functions. In this scenario, an attacker can inject arbitrary code into the MCCS website and execute it. This issue can be exploited to download and install malicious apps on the Samsung device when visiting. Checkmark's SCS supply chain security team found a vulnerability in GitHub that can allow an attacker to take control over a GitHub repository and potentially infect all applications and other code relying on it with malicious code. Reads the post published by Checkmarks. If not explicitly tended, all renamed usernames on GitHub were vulnerable to this flaw, including over 10,000 packages on the Go, Swift, and Packagist package managers. This means that thousands of packages could have been hijacked immediately and start serving malicious code to millions of users. The researchers discovered that the vulnerability resides in the popular repository namespace retirement mechanism and developed an open source tool to identify and help mitigate the risk of exploitation of bugs in this mechanism. In the repo-jacking attack, attackers claim the old username of a repository after the legitimate creator changed the username, then publish a rogue repository with the same name to trick users into downloading its content. The popular repository namespace retirement mechanism was introduced by GitHub to prevent repo-jacking. According to the security measure, any repository with more than 100 clones at the time its user account is renamed is considered retired and cannot be used by others. As shown with the previous bypass of this protection measure, successful exploitation enables the takeover of popular code packages in several package managers, including Packagist, Go, and Swift, and more. We have identified over 10,000 packages in those package managers using renamed usernames and are at risk of being vulnerable to this technique in case a new bypass is found, concludes the report. The personal mobile phone of British Prime Minister Liz Truss, was hacked by cyber spies suspecting of working for the Kremlin, the Daily Mail reported. According to the British tabloid, the cyber spies are believed to have gained access to top-secret exchanges with key international partners, as well as private conversations with her friend, the British Conservative Party politician Kwasi Kwarteng. Liz Truss's personal mobile phone was hacked by agents suspected of working for the Kremlin, the Mail, and on Sunday can reveal. Read the report published by the Daily Mail. One source said that the phone was so heavily compromised that it has now been placed in a locked safe inside a secure government location. Because putting a phone in a safe, everybody knows, makes it secure. These cyber spies compromised Truss's phone during the summer's Troy leadership campaign when Miss Truss was Foreign Secretary. Boris Johnson, who was Prime Minister at the time, and the Cabinet Secretary, Simone Case, decided to keep the hack secret. Some of the messages obtained by the cyber spies included criticisms Miss Truss made of Mr. Johnson. These messages could have been used to blackmail the politician. Experts also believe the messages included conversations with international foreign ministers about the conflict in Ukraine, potentially related to arms shipments. In response to the hack, Ms. Truss was forced to change her mobile number shortly before becoming Prime Minister. It is not a great look for the intelligence services if the Foreign Secretary's phone can be so easily plundered for embarrassing personal messages by agents presumed to work for Vladimir Putin's Russia, continues the tabloid. The incident caused apprehensions within the British government, whose representatives are still concerned about the consequences of accessing any and disclosing information obtained through the hack. A government spokesman attempted to downplay the incident, explaining that the government has robust measures to protect its infrastructure from cyber threats. Yeah, we see how that works. Asahi Group Holdings Limited is a precision metal manufacturer and metal solution provider. For more than 40 years, the company has been delivering end-to-end services in the industries of precision metals and thin film coatings with different teams of experts. The BlackByte ransomware group claims to have stolen gigabytes of documents from Asahi Group Holdings, including financial and sales reports. The ransomware gang is demanding $500,000 to buy data and $600,000 to delete the stolen data. The BlackByte ransomware operation has been active since September 2021. In October 2021, researchers from TrustWave's Spider Labs released a decryptor that can allow victims of early versions of BlackByte ransomware to restore their files for free. In February, the U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, revealed, like I need to tell you it's the FBI, I'm just reading, revealed that the BlackByte ransomware gang was breached at least 3 organizations from U.S. critical infrastructure sectors. Air New Zealand suffered a security breach. Threat actors attempted to access customers' accounts by carrying out credential stuffing attacks. Credential stuffing is a type of attack in which hackers use automation and lists of compromised usernames and passwords to defeat authentication and authorization mechanisms with the end goal of account takeover and or data exfiltration. In other words, attackers glean lists of breached usernames and passwords and run them against desired logins until they find someone at work. Then they enter those accounts for the purpose of abusing permission, siphoning out data, or both. The breach only occurred with a small number of Air New Zealand customers, and no fraudulent transactions or sensitive information was accessed by the scammers. He, which is I'm assuming Ravishankar said, reported the website stuff.co.nz. The accounts were locked and customers were contacted to be advised to change their login details before using the airport systems again. The Emotet malware operation is again spamming malicious emails after almost a 4-month vacation. That's all little activity from the notorious cybercrime operation. Emotet is a malware infection distributed through phishing campaigns containing malicious Excel or Word documents. When users open these documents and enable macros, the Emotet DLL will be downloaded and loaded into memory. Once loaded, the malware will search for and steal emails to use in future spam campaigns and drop additional payloads such as Cobalt Strike or other malware that commonly leads to ransomware attacks. While Emotet was considered the most distributed malware in the past, it suddenly stopped spamming on July 13, 2022. Researchers from Emotet research group Cryptolamus reported that in approximately 4 a.m. Eastern Time on November 2nd, the Emotet operation suddenly came alive again, spamming email addresses worldwide. Proofpoint threat researcher and Cryptolamus member Tommy Madyar told that today's Emotet email campaigns are using stolen email reply chains to distribute malicious Excel attachments. Today's Emotet campaign also introduced a new Excel attachment template that contains instructions to bypass Microsoft Protected View when a file is downloaded from the internet, including an email attachment. Microsoft will add a special mark of the web, MOTW, we had that in a previous story a little earlier, flag to the file. When a user opens a Microsoft Office document containing an MOTW flag, Microsoft Office will open it in protected view, preventing macros that install malware from being executed. However, in the new Emotet Excel attachment, you can see that the threat actors are instructing users to copy the file into the trusted templates folders, as doing this will bypass Microsoft Office's protected view, even for files containing the MOTW flag. A massive cyber attack hit the Slovak and Polish parliaments, reported the authorities. The cyber attack brought down the voting system in Slovakia's legislature. The attack was multi-directional, including from inside the Russian Federation, reads a statement published by the Polish State Senate. Polish authorities argue that the attack may be linked to the Senate's vote. Polish Senate Speaker Tomasz Grodzki defined the Russian government as a terrorist regime. The attack completely blocked the IT infrastructure of the parliament. Parliament's entire computer network has been paralyzed, said Slovak Parliament's Deputy Speaker Gabor Grendel. Around 11 a.m., we were about to vote when the head of our administrative department informed us there has been a cyber attack on the IT system of the Parliament, he added. Therefore, parliamentary session was interrupted. Security researchers at Sentinel Labs share details about Black Basta's TTPs and assess it is highly likely that the ransomware operation has ties with FIN7. The experts analyze tools used by the ransomware gang in attacks. Some of them are custom tools, including EDR evasion tools. Sentinel Labs believes the developer of these EDR evasion tools is or was a developer for FIN7 gang. Further evidence linking the two includes IP addresses and specific TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures used by FIN7 in early 2022 and seen months later in actual Black Basta attacks. Black Basta has been active since April 2022. Like other ransomware operations, implements a double extortion attack model. On the other end, FIN7 is a Russian, financially motivated group that has been active since at least 2015. It focused on deploying POS malware and launching targeted spear phishing attacks against organizations worldwide. The Sentinel Labs analysis revealed that Black Basta ransomware operators develop and maintain their own toolkit. They documented only collaboration with a limited and trusted set of affiliates. Sentinel Labs began tracking Black Basta operations in early June after noticing overlaps between ostensibly different cases. Along with other researchers, we noted that Black Basta infections began with CakeBot delivered by email and macro-based MS Office documents, ISO link droppers, and .docx documents exploiting the MSDTC remote code execution vulnerability CV 2022-30190, reads the report published by the experts. One of the interesting initial access vectors we observed was an ISO dropper shipped as report July 14th, 39337.iso that exploits a DLL hijacking in calc.exe. The report details Black Basta's initial access activity, manual reconnaissance, lateral movements, privilege escalation techniques, and remote admin tools. In order to weaken the security defenses installed on the target machine, Black Basta targets installed security solutions with specific batch scripts downloaded into the Windows directory. The disable anti-spyware parameter allows disabling the Windows Defender antivirus in order to deploy another security solution. The disable real-time monitoring is used to disable real-time protection and then uninstall Windows feature, name Windows Defender to uninstall Windows Defender. The experts noticed that starting from June 2022, Black Basta operators deployed a previously undocumented custom EDR evasion tool. The researchers discovered a custom tool, windefcheck.exe, which is an executable package with UPX. The sample is a binary compiled with Visual Basic, which displays a fake Windows Security GUI and tray icon with a healthy system status, even if Windows Defender and other system functionalities are disabled. Ooh, that's tricky and sneaky. The researchers discovered multiple samples linked to the above tool and found one packed with an unknown packer, which was identified as SocksBot. It is a backdoor that was used by FIN7 Group since at least 2018. It also connects to a command and control IP address 4567229148 belonging to PQ.hosting, a bulletproof hosting provider used by FIN7 in its operations. We assess it is highly likely that the Black Basta ransomware operation has ties with FIN7. Furthermore, we assess it is likely that the developers behind their tools to impair victim defenses is or was a developer for FIN7, concludes the report. As we clarify the hand behind the elusive Black Basta ransomware operation, we aren't surprised to see a familiar face behind this ambitious closed-door operation. While there are many new faces and diverse threats in the ransomware and double extortion space, we expect to see the existing professional criminal outfits putting their own spin on maximizing illicit profits in new ways. Malwarebytes researchers discovered 4 malicious apps uploaded by the same developer, Mobile Apps Group, to the official Google Play. The apps are infected with the Android Trojan Hidden Ads BTGTHB malware. The apps totaled at least 1 million downloads. The list of apps includes Bluetooth Sender, com.bluetooth.share.app with 50,000 downloads, Bluetooth Auto Connect with 1 million apps, Driver Bluetooth Wi-Fi USB with 10,000, and Mobile Transfer Smart Switch with 1,000 plus downloads. Researchers pointed out that the older versions of the same apps have been detected in the past as different variants of Android Trojan hidden ads. The apps were used as part of an adware campaign redirecting victims to websites under the control of the attackers. Some of the sites employed in the campaign host phishing pages. After the initial delay, the malicious app opens phishing sites in Chrome. The content of the phishing sites varies. Some are harmless sites used simply to produce pay-per-click, and others are more dangerous phishing sites that attempt to trick unsuspecting users. I like how they say pay-per-click theft is harmless. For example, one site includes adult content that leads to phishing pages that tell the user they've been infected or need to perform an update, recent post published by Malwarebytes. The Chrome tabs are opened in the background even while the mobile device is locked. When the user unlocks the device, Chrome opens with the latest site. Some websites were also designed to prompt users to install cleaner apps on their mobile devices and deliver additional malicious payloads. In order to avoid detection, the malicious apps wait for some days before opening a phishing site in the Chrome browser and then launch more tabs every 2 hours. It is unclear if that means to wait an additional 2 hours after the first ad delay or display another ad 2 hours after the first ad, continues the report. Regardless, it is another example of using delays to obfuscate detection. These types of log entries are recorded every 15 minutes, constantly setting new time-released ads. File hosting service Dropbox announced that threat actors gained unauthorized access to 130 of its source code repositories on GitHub. According to the advisory published by Dropbox, the company was the target of a phishing campaign that resulted in access to the GitHub repositories. The investigation revealed that the code accessed by the attackers contained some credentials, primarily API keys, used by the development team. Oh no, API keys in your GitHub, what are you doing? The company pointed out that no one's content, passwords, or payment information were accessed. It is remarked that the issue was quickly resolved. Dropbox uses Circle CI for select internal deployments, and in early October, a phishing campaign targeted multiple Dropbox users using messages impersonating Circle CI. While our systems automatically quarantine some of these emails, others landed in Dropbox's inboxes. These legitimate-looking emails directed employees to visit a fake Circle CI login page, enter their GitHub username and password, and then use their hardware authentication key to pass a one-time password to the malicious site, reads the advisory published by the company. This eventually succeeded, giving the threat actor access to one of our GitHub organizations, where they proceeded to copy 130 of our code repositories. The repositories included internal copies of third-party libraries slightly modified for use by Dropbox, internal prototypes, and some tools and configuration files used by the security team of the file hosting service. Exposed data included a few thousand names and email addresses belonging to Dropbox employees, current and past customers, sales leads, and vendors. In September 2022, GitHub warned of an ongoing phishing campaign targeting its users to steal credentials and two-factor authentication codes by impersonating the Circle CI's DevOps platform. The company learned of the attacks against its users on September 16th. It pointed out that the phishing campaign has impacted many victim organizations except GitHub. Phishing messages claims that a user's Circle CI session expired and attempt to trick recipients into logging in using GitHub credentials. Recipients are directed to the phishing pages mimicking GitHub login page designed to steal in real time the credentials and two-factor authentication code entered by the users. Thales is a global high-tech leader with more than 81,000 employees worldwide. The group invests in digital and deep tech innovations, big data, artificial intelligence, connectivity, cybersecurity, and quantum to build a future of trust essential to the development of our societies by placing people at the heart of decision-making. They invest in cybersecurity, but they got hacked. So, French defense and technology group Thales confirmed to be aware that the ransomware group LockBit 3.0 claimed to have stolen some of its data. Thales was added to the list of victims of the LockBit 3.0 group on October 31st. The gang is threatening to publish stolen data by November 7th, 2022, if the company will not pay the ransom. This time, the ransomware gang has yet to publish any sample of alleged stolen data. The Thales told Reuters that it had not received any direct ransom notification. The company added that it has launched an investigation into the alleged security breach. It also notified the French ANSSI, National Cybersecurity Agency. A company spokesman said that the company has not filed a complaint with the police. VMware warned of the existence of the public exploit targeting a recently addressed critical remote code execution RCE vulnerability tracked to CVE 2021-39144. CVS a score of 9.8 in NSX data center for vSphere. VMware NSX is a network visualization solution that is available in VMware vCenter server. The remote code execution vulnerability resides in the Extreme open source library. Unauthenticated attackers can exploit the vulnerability in low complexity attacks without user interaction. Due to an unauthorized endpoint that leverages Xstream for input serialization in VMware Cloud Foundation, a malicious actor can get remote code execution in the context of root on the appliance, reads the advisory published by the company. The product team has also released patches for end-of-life products due to the severity of the vulnerability. VMware has confirmed that exploit code leveraging CVE 2021-9144 against impacted products has been published, reads the advisory published by the virtualization giant. The virtualization firm also published separate guidance to upgrade NSX version 6.4.14 appliances on Cloud Foundation 3.x. Researchers at ThreatFabric have discovered 5 malicious dropper apps on the official Google Play Store. The malicious dropper apps are designed to deliver banking trojans such as Sharkbot and Vulture that already totaled over 130,000 installations. Droppers on Google Play went from using accessibility servers to auto-allow installation from unknown sources to using legitimate sources to control them and store malicious payloads, reads the analysis published by ThreatFabric. Following the updates to the developer program policy and system updates, actors immediately introduced new ways to sneak to the official store, overcoming limitations or adjusting droppers to follow the guidelines and not arouse suspicion. In the beginning of October 2022, the experts uncovered a new campaign spreading the banking Trojan Sharkbot. The campaign is targeting Italian banking users with Sharkbot version 2.29 to 2.32 that were delivered using dropper apps on Google Play with 10,000 plus installations. The malicious apps were masqueraded as an app to calculate tax code in Italy, Codice Fiscale, targeting Italian users. Recovered version 2.9.7 and earlier versions, and R1 Soft SMB 6.16.3 and earlier versions. Huntress researchers explained that the authentication bypass and sensitive file leak CVE 2022-36537 affect the Java framework ZK Ajax web application framework used within the ConnectWise R1 Software Server Backup Manager SE. The experts published a video POC that demonstrates the exploitation of the issue to bypass authentication, upload hard-coded JDBC database driver to gain code execution, and use the REST API to trigger commands to registered agents to ultimately push the recently leaked LockBit 3.0 ransomware to all downstream endpoints. Hey, we now move on to other security news. The short-form video sharing service TikTok updates its privacy policy for European Economic Area, the UK, and Switzerland, and confirmed that its users' data can be accessed by its personnel, including Chinese employees. European user data could be also accessed by TikTok staff in Brazil, Canada, and Israel, as well as the US and Singapore, where user data is currently stored. Based on a demonstrated need to do their job, subject to a series of robust security controls and approval protocols, and by way of methods that are recognized under the GDPR, the EU's General Data Protection Regulation, we allow certain employees within our corporate group, located in Brazil, Canada, China, Israel, Japan, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, South Korea, and the United States, remote access to TikTok European user data, said Elaine Fox, TikTok's head of privacy in Europe. The Guardian revealed that the privacy policy updates will go live on December 2nd, 2022. The company pointed out that it doesn't collect precise location information from its users in Europe. TikTok also claims to have in place security controls to prevent any abuse of user data and implement system access restrictions. ByteDance, which owns the short-form video sharing platform, continues to deny that its operations are influenced by the Chinese authorities. In October, a report published by Forbes accounted TikTok as being used to target U.S. citizens, but ByteDance denied any accusation. According to the report, the company planned to track the location of at least 2 people via video sharing app. The U.S. President Joe Biden has annulled Donald Trump's executive orders related to the sale of TikTok's U.S. business. He asked the U.S. Commerce Department to produce recommendations to protect the data of people in the U.S. from foreign adversaries. The Committee on Foreign Investment in the U.S. is currently conducting a security review of the operations of the short-term video sharing service. Research published by threat intelligence firm Kela related to ransomware activity in the third quarter reveals a stable activity in the sector initial access sales, but experts observed a rise in the value of offerings. In Q3, actors offered more expensive listings since the total number of listings remained almost the same. On average, there were around 190 access listings in each month of the third quarter, slightly higher than in the second quarter, reads the report published by the experts. Kela identified around 600 victims by analyzing ransomware actors, blogs, and negotiation portals, data leak sites, and public reports compared to the second quarter of 2022. The activity decreased by 8%, falling from July to August, but increasing from August to September. On average, the experts observed 200 attacks each month of the third quarter compared to 216 victims in the second quarter. The third quarter of 2022, the most prolific ransomware and data leak actors in the third quarter were LockBit, Black Basta, Hive, Alpha, aka Black Cat, and the new entry Biandian Group. Giving a look at the geographical distribution of the attack, we can observe that the most targeted country is the US with 40%, followed by France, Germany, and Spain. The most targeted sector was professional services. The average price for access was around $2,800, while the median price was $1,350. One of the most worrisome findings of the report is the number of network access listings for sale in the third quarter. Keller experts traced over 570 offers with a cumulative requested price of around $4 million. In the third quarter of 2022, Keller traced over 570 network access listings for sale with a cumulative requested price of around $4 million. One access was offered for $3 million. This constitutes a significant increase compared to the total amount of about $660,000 demanded in the second quarter, continues the report. However, excluding this $3 million access, the difference wouldn't be so serious. Ransomware is a profitable business, and for this reason, new ransomware gangs are entering the cyber arena. In some cases, the groups are composed of members of now defunct prominent extortion groups. In the third quarter, new data leak sites emerged in the cybercrime ecosystem, including Bianlian, Zero Mega, Dixon Team, and Donut Leaks. Ransomware and data leak actors continue to operate vigorously while new gangs emerged in the third quarter. IABS offers continue to be in demand and to increase in quantity and price, concludes the report. Germany's Federal Criminal Police Officer, BKA, has arrested a student, 22, in Bavaria, who is suspected of that's where I live, is suspected of being the administrator of Deutschland im Deep Web, DIDW, Darknet Marketplace. The Darknet Marketplace has gone off earlier this year, with more than 16,000 registered users, 72 of whom were active traders. The Darknet Marketplace was a crucial service for drug trafficking in the cybercrime underground for several years. The arrest took place on Tuesday, October 25th, as part of the police measures. 2 residential properties were also searched with the participation of the ZCB public prosecutor, and numerous items of evidence, including computers, data carriers, and mobile phones, were seized, reads the press release published by BKA. Measures carried out were preceded by months of undercover and technically demanding investigations in order to be able to identify and finally arrest the suspects who were acting anonymously on the dark web. Since 2018, 2 new versions of the marketplace have been published under the name Deutschland im Deep Web, on which drugs in particular were traded under the self-imposed motto, "No control, everything allowed." Microsoft has a new utility to PowerToy's toolset that will help Windows users find the processes using selected files and unlock them without requiring a third-party tool. PowerToy 0.64.0 also adds a Windows hosts file editor and a long list of bug fixes and changes that add stability and improve the other built-in tools. As its name implies, the new file LockSmith utility can be used to deal with locked files that can't be deleted or opened because Windows says another process is using them. File LockSmith lists which processors are using the selected files or directories and allows closing those processes, the tool's description reads. While, until now, most users would have to install a third-party program designed to get rid of the locked status, you can now check which files are being used by which processes by right-clicking them in the File Explorer and clicking What's Using This File in the context menu. You can then terminate any processes found by the file locksmith or scan again using administrative privileges to look for processes launched by all users. A recent release bundles a new hosts file editor utility that helps manage the Windows host file's contents, enabling force linking or mapping hostnames to IP addresses. The tool will help users add new entries to the host files and update ones already available. It also has a filter feature to quickly sieve through large files and narrow down the results list. The PowerToys toolset initially came as a collection of tiny freeware utilities created as side projects by Windows developers during the Windows 95 era. Microsoft decided to revive them in September 2019 when it released the first version of modern PowerToys as an open source utility packer or pack designed to provide Windows users with extra functionality. And that's the news. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to share and subscribe if you haven't already, and smash the bell if you haven't already. And I'll see you on the next episode. Take care.